Welcome to Parker River National Wildlife Refuge. We are about to embark on a fantastic journey through the refuge's beautiful coastal habitats and meet some of its wild inhabitants. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your National Wildlife Refuge. Parker River National Wildlife Refuge was established in 1942 as a haven for migratory birds and other wildlife. Today, the refuge occupies 4,662 acres on the southern two-thirds of Plum Island and is administered by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, a federal agency. Across the country, national wildlife refuges are protected natural places with a mission of wildlife first, meaning that refuges are places that are first and foremost for wildlife, but are also enjoyed by people. Now, let's take a tour of the various habitats of the refuge. Plum Island is a barrier island formed by sands left by retreating glaciers and ocean currents. This long, thin island provides a home for a diversity of wildlife. The refuge mainly consists of 5 different habitats: sandy beaches, dunes, maritime shrublands and forest, man-made impoundments, and finally, the salt marsh. Let's explore each one of these unique and important habitats. The sandy beach habitat. The beaches of Parker River National Wildlife Refuge are some of the cleanest and most beautiful you will find in New England. Extending over 6 miles in length, the beach is a dynamic place, ever-changing with wind and water. In the summer, ocean waves are smaller, bringing sand ashore and building up the beach, while winter waves are larger and stronger, taking sand away. Wind carries sand up to and over the beach to eventually create the dunes. A major storm event, such as a famous New England nor'easter, can move as much sand in a day or two as the regular winds have moved throughout the entire year. The sandy beach is a haven for many different kinds of wildlife. You may even be lucky enough to see a harbor seal on the shores of the refuge. Seals frequently seek much-needed rest from swimming and feeding by lounging on the sand. This is normal behavior for the seal, and you do not have to worry about the seal's health or well-being. As a matter of fact, lounging also helps seals regulate their body temperature. If you happen to encounter a seal, enjoy the sight, but please give these protected animals plenty of room during your visit. The beach is also home for a variety of insects, crustaceans, snails, and shellfish, as well as a feeding, resting, and nesting area for birds such as the least tern. The federally threatened piping plover nests on Parker River's beaches starting in April. In order to protect the piping plover and advance our Wildlife First mission, refuge staff close the beach to visitors for the duration of the nesting season, which can last sometimes even into late August. Piping plovers are easily disturbed by the presence of people. Their nests, well camouflaged in the sand, can be easily destroyed by the unwary traveler. Closing the beach gives the plovers large areas of undisturbed habitat to increase the young plover chicks' chances of survival. The beach habitat is also important for migrating shorebirds. Shorebirds such as the semi-palmated plover travel thousands of miles when they migrate. The refuge beach provides an essential pit stop, giving them a place to rest and feed in order to continue on their journey. Please give these birds plenty of space during your visit. In addition to the bird, ocean, and invertebrate life on the sandy beach, mammals such as mice, raccoons, skunks, and even fox also use the beach as a place for food and rest. The dune habitat. The beautiful refuge dunes begin to form when water and wind move sand over and around obstacles, creating hills of sand. Beach grass, whose Latin name, Ammophila, means lover of sand, takes root in these forming hills, keeping the sand in place and making the dune taller and larger. After the beach grass takes hold, other plants such as beach pea and poison ivy move in and take root as well. The dunes are subjected to ocean waves, hot sun, and strong winds, and each of these plants must be able to survive the harsh conditions of dune life. Over time, plants such as black cherry trees, goldenrod, and beach plum, which gives Plum Island its name, begin to grow on the backside of the dune, creating a shrub and forest habitat used by many different and colorful songbirds. A variety of animals use the dunes for food and shelter. Small rodents such as mice and meadow voles find shelter, seeds, and insects to eat in the beach grass. In winter months, these small rodents and other mammals attract the breathtaking snowy owl, which is often sighted hunting and resting in the wintry dunes. In the dunes, visitors may encounter deer grazing upon the various leaves of plants. In spring and summer, fox and coyote eat the flavorful beach plums and black cherries. And in fall and winter, they may be found hunting the smaller mammals of the dune habitat. Throughout the year, the dunes are active and evolving, important to all wildlife that call it home. The maritime shrub and forest habitat. Protected behind the dunes at the widest points of the island, you will find maritime shrubland and forest. Maritime forests, as their name suggests, are forests by the sea. Here you'll find oak, maple, cedar, and birch trees, where songbirds feed, nest, and rest. Birds of prey, such as the great horned owl and the saw-whet owl, also use these forests. In addition to the forests are shrublands filled with young trees and bushes such as the beach plum. These areas are important for migratory songbirds like the cedar waxwing and yellow warbler. Adjacent fields provide habitat for the bobolink and are favorite feeding areas for deer. During fall migration, tree swallows swarm the refuge's dune and maritime forest habitats, gorging themselves on fruit and insects. This feeding gives them enough energy for their long journey south. Thousands of swallows can be seen at a time and are truly an amazing sight. The impoundment habitats. Impoundments are a unique part of the Parker River National Wildlife Refuge. Impoundments are marshlands that were first created by refuge staff in the 1940s to provide nesting habitat for waterfowl, such as the American black duck. Dikes were built to keep salt water out and fresh rainwater in the impoundment. Water control structures were built to help biologists control the water level in these marshes. At different times of the year, refuge biologists raise or lower the water level in the marsh to provide habitat for different animals. For example, shorebirds need low water levels to feed on the insects and worms in the marsh mud during their migration, so biologists will let water out of the marsh. After the shorebirds have gone, the biologists may raise the water to a higher level, which is more suitable for ducks and geese. These marshes attract several different kinds of birds. Wading birds, including egrets and great blue herons, are frequent visitors to the impoundments and are an amazing sight as they hunt for food in the shallows. In addition to waterfowl such as Canada geese and various ducks, muskrat, beaver, and even turtles can be found in the impoundment areas. The Hellcat Observation Area provides excellent opportunities for wildlife viewing in the impoundment and dune habitats. An observation tower provides commanding views of the North and Bill Forward pools, as well as the surrounding salt marsh. Beyond the impoundments, we find one of the most important habitats of the refuge, the salt marsh. When the island first formed, the salt marsh did not exist. Instead, the salt marsh began to develop behind the shelter of the dunes. Sea levels rose and incoming tides brought silt inland, creating wet mudflats. Over time, plants that could tolerate salt water started to grow and built up the marsh. The salt marshes we see on the refuge today are actually thousands of years old. A salt marsh may look like a giant field of grass, but in reality it is one of the most productive habitats on Earth, more productive, in fact, than an Iowa cornfield. Clams, mussels, worms, snails, and crabs are all hidden within the salt marsh mud and grasses. Soft-shelled clams, which you may know in restaurants as steamers, live in the salt marsh mud and filter marsh water for food. The salt marsh is home to several shorebirds such as willets and also birds of prey, including snowy and short-eared owls. Wading birds such as the majestic egret meticulously hunt for food in the salt marsh. Deer, fox, raccoon, and coyote also find plenty to eat in this wet and grassy habitat. The most famous, or infamous, inhabitants of the salt marsh are mosquitoes and greenhead flies. We may dislike them, but these insects actually provide a great amount of food for birds such as tree swallows, flycatchers, and eastern kingbirds. Salt marsh fish and shorebirds also eat the eggs and larvae of these insects. The unique and beautiful habitats of the Parker River National Wildlife Refuge provide rest and rejuvenation for both animals and people alike. From sand-loving plants to threatened birds, the refuge puts wildlife first by providing a haven and home for a variety of wildlife. We hope you have enjoyed this visual journey of the refuge wildlife and habitats. On behalf of the staff, volunteers, and most importantly, the refuge wildlife, thank you for supporting your Parker River National Wildlife Refuge. We encourage you to explore the refuge further by picking up an informational brochure and refuge map. In addition, feel free to talk to Visitor Center staff and volunteers for more information on our many quality recreational opportunities.